I would like to start by paying homage to the Lord Buddha, offering salutation to senior and junior monks respectively, and extending greetings to all the lay supporters who are listening in from home today. Today is the Thursday, December 17th, 2020. I'm Phra Nicholas Thanissaro of Dhamma International Meditation Center, Azusa, and today I'd like to share a Dhamma talk on the topic of the impermanence of this human body. Aciraṃ vatayaṃ kāyo Paṭhaviṃ adhisessati Chuḍḍo apetaviññāṇo Niratthaṃ kaliṅgaraṃ. Before long, alas, this body will be laid on the earth, discarded, devoid of consciousness, and useless like a log of wood. Today I'd like to elaborate on this Buddhist proverb that is derived from the Nikāya Dhammapada as a principle for all those listening in today to put into practice in everyday life. We're gathered here today in order to celebrate the life of Mr. Boonleu Limsakul, who recently passed at the age of 93 at the behest of his daughter, Khun Boonleu. Tonight, here at the Dhamma International Meditation Center in Azusa, we're going to perform a funeral rite to generate merit for her late father. Although we might like to think otherwise, it is an inconvenient truth that our human existence is relatively short, dangerous, and precarious. Although we might hope to live beyond the average lifespan for our day and age, whether it be 75 or 80 years, there's nothing to guarantee this. According to the verses of the Buddhist contemplation found in the Anguttara Nikāya, short, alas, is the life of man, limited and fleeting, full of pain and torment. One should wisely understand this, do good deeds, and lead a virtuous life, for no mortals ever escape death. Just as a dewdrop on the tip of a blade of grass at sunrise very soon vanishes and does not remain for long, just so is the dewdrop-like life of man very short and fleeting. Just as with the pouring down of a heavy rain, the bubbles on the water very soon vanish and do not remain for long, just so is the bubble-like life of man very short and fleeting. Just as a furrow drawn with a stick in the water very soon vanishes and does not remain for long, just so is the furrow-like life of man, very short and fleeting. Just as the cattle for slaughter stand on the brink of death, just so is the life of men very short and fleeting. One should wisely understand this, do good deeds, and lead a virtuous life, for no mortal ever escapes death. More tragic still is that all the wealth, ability, status, and fame we accumulate during our lifetime cannot be taken with us. When we go, as the Buddha reminded us with the words from the Therigatha, Na miyamanang dhanang anveti kinchi. Not even a single coin can follow its owner beyond the grave. The only thing that can stay with a person after their passing is the merits they have accumulated during their lifetime, or the merits generated on their behalf posthumously by loved ones at their funeral. Thus, the Buddhist funeral is not so much about expressing grief or paying respect, but more about generating the maximum of merits to bring the deceased to a better place in their afterlife. Merit is generated for the departed by the chanting of the apetaviññāṇo, the hearing of this Dharma sermon, and the recollection of death it inspires in the listener. Most importantly, merit is generated by the gift of picked-up robes or bamsakul to the monastic community. When the monks reach out to reflect on the robes offered, they recite the Pali passage, Anicca vata sankhara, upadavayathamino, upajitova nirojanti te sang upasamosako, which translates as, transient, alas, are all component things. Subject are they to birth and decay. Having gained birth, To death the life flux swings, bliss truly dawns when unrest dies away. Hearing these verses, the mindfulness of death will arise for all the congregants, and especially for Mr. Boonleu Limsakul, as he seeks for a brighter afterlife destination. The offering of picked-up robes and dedication of merit originated in the time of the Buddha, where, to cut a long story short, King Bimbisara was the first to successfully dedicate merit to deceased relatives that had disturbed his sleep. According to this tradition, when the offerings have been made to the monks, they give a blessing. Meanwhile, the lay people pour the water of dedication, while making the firm intention that the deceased will be cognizant of their good deed and accept the merit. Some people may ask themselves whether merit can reach loved ones who have already passed away, especially when the ceremony today is performed online. Fortunately, I can put your mind at ease, because in the discourse between Janusoni, Brahmin, and the Buddha concluded that there are 3 conditions that ensure the effectiveness of funeral rites. Firstly, donors need to make the firm intention that the deceased receive the meritorious fruits that have been dedicated. The intention made is even more important than the water poured in dedication. Secondly, the deceased must be in a state whereby they can know and appreciate the merit shared with them. Finally, the gift must be received by a worthy recipient, someone whose precepts are pure. In Buddhism, this refers foremost to members of the monastic community. Thus you can see that even though the listeners and the monks are separated by the social distancing of an internet connection, all 3 of these conditions have been fulfilled, and with the purity of intention arising, merit will still reach Mr. Boonleu Limsakul as he reaches toward his new existence. Thus, in conclusion, all those listening should bear in mind the apt advice from the Tirukutta Sutta that you will hear once again in the Pali language when the monks come to give their blessing in a few moments' time, namely, Nahirunang wa soko wa yawanya paritevana natang petanang ataya ewang titanti yatayo ayanchako dakinatina sangham hi supatitita igaratang hitayasa thanaso upakapati, which translates as no weeping, sorrow, nor any kind of mourning will help departed ones whose kin remain. It is unhelpful for them to act thus. But when this offering is given well, placed in the monastic community for the deceased, it will serve them immediately as well as far into the future. This is why the sages of old warned us, instead of crying for others at a funeral out of sorrow for the deceased, we should spare a tear instead for ourselves, because we must inevitably follow those loved ones to the grave. Instead, we should be inspired with urgency to cultivate as many good deeds as we can in the remaining years of our lives, so that, when it comes to our turn to leave this world, we can do so in confidence that the merits we have accumulated will be sufficient to bring us to a happier existence in our afterlife. This thought brings me back to the Buddhist proverb with which I started this discourse, that Aciraṃ vatayaṃ kāyo Paṭhaviṃ adhisessati Chuḍḍo apetaviññāṇo Niratthaṃ kaliṅgaraṃ. Before long, alas, this body will be laid on the earth, discarded, devoid of consciousness, and useless like a log of wood. Imina kata punyena, with the power of all the merits arising from the Dhamma talk today, may they bring Mr. Boonleu Limsakul happiness and prosperity in his new rebirth, according to the wishes of the supporters on this occasion. May these merits bring all supporters long life, strong health, strength, happiness, quick-wittedness. Whatever good things you wish for in life, may those things come to you easily in every way. So instead of mourning Mr. Boonleu Limsakul, we can be sure that he has cultivated a lot more than mere faith in the Buddha throughout his life. I did not know Mr. Boonleu personally, but from the information passed on to me, I have it on good authority that Mr. Boonleu was a regular supporter of Wat Phra Dhammakaya in Thailand from the mid-70s onwards, and have moved house especially to live near to the main temple in Thailand in order to be able to visit the temple more regularly. He helped to buy the 1,000 acres of land for the World Dhammakaya Center. He dedicated 105 Buddha statues on the Dhammakaya Chettiya and donated for the construction of the Dhammakaya Chettiya enclosure in the name of his family, in the name of root teachers of the Dhammakaya tradition, and in the name of the senior monks attending the Wat Phra Dhammakaya from other temples. He ordained as a Buddhist novice along with his grandchildren in order to celebrate the building of the main pagoda in the temple in Thailand. And he donated for the construction of the Khun Yai Memorial, the 60-year meditation research facility, the Sapha Dhammakaya Assembly Hall, the temple's hospital facility, the Khun Yai 100-year building, helping to buy land for construction of the Dhammakaya temple parking lot. Mr. Boonleu was particularly proud to donate an ice maker for the temple kitchens and used to provide $500 for offering of meals to the monastic community every month, driving to the temple to offer food himself and to pay homage to the Dhammakaya Chettiya every day. So you can see that Mr. Boonleu, apart from all the other things, he has been a model and an exemplar of the Buddhist practice, not only to his sons and daughters, but even down to the third generation in these days for all his grandchildren who still attain the temple and help with the temple activities on a regular basis. When he realized that he was in the final few months of his life, it said that Mr. Boonleu, he used to repeat Samma Arahant continuously and followed the Dhamma transmissions online from the IMC in California throughout his period of illness. And one of his last acts before passing was to pay respect to the Master Nun Khun Yai and the great abbot of Wat Pak Nam, Aciraṃ, on the calendar near to where he was lying on his deathbed. So it is to be expected that with all the good deeds the deceased cultivated during his lifetime, together with the merit of these funeral ceremonies organized in his name, especially the merit of giving today's Dhamma talk on the impermanence of the human body, that as Mr. Boonleu Limsakul looks down on us from his new existence, he will be led to an ever brighter and more refined status in his afterlife existence. So just before we hear the apetaviññāṇo chanting, I would like to invite everyone just to pause, close your eyes for a few moments to reflect on the impermanence of this human body, just for a few moments in silence. Death puts in perspective our attachments to this world. Attachments that may seem so useful to us when we are still hankering after existence and the things that we find important in life. When we come to leave this world, it becomes clear to us that nothing but the merits we have cultivated are important for us as we leave this life to go to a new place. Our teacher in Thailand, the Venerable Dhammajayo, said that the attachments, the clinging that we have, all these things are of no value to us because they just impede and block our ability to attain the inner brightness. So we let go of all attachments, even to this body of ours. And in doing so, the merits arising will be especially important to Mr. Boonleu Limsakul, especially in these 7 days after his passing, as he becomes familiar with his new afterlife status and reaches towards his new and better existence.